Hi YouTube, it's me, Danny, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Danny and I make videos about all the things that I am passionate about. These include travel, aviation, and more recently I've been talking a lot about feminine energy, and that is because I am now officially a feminine embodiment coach. I've just graduated from my course, which I've been studying for the past year, so now I am getting ready to launch my business in feminine embodiment coaching. But perhaps I will create a video in the near future about what exactly feminine embodiment is and how you can work with me. I've got so much exciting information to share with you all in the coming year, and I'm planning to ramp up my content creation, so make sure you give me a follow on my YouTube channel or even on my TikTok or my Instagram channels, because I'm posting a lot on there as well. So today's video is a little bit related to feminine energy, but not quite. Today we are going to be talking about masculine energy and what is divine masculine energy. And when I talk about divine masculinity, I'm talking about the embodiment of the healthy and mature masculine archetype, which is present within all of us, whether we are man or woman. We all have divine feminine and divine masculine energy, but whether or not we choose to embody those divine traits is completely up to us, which is why I really wanted to make today's video. I've recently read a book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and I really highly recommend this book. I'll link it in the description below if you want to grab yourself a copy. So this book was written by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette, who speak about the 4 archetypes, which we can see in the title. And what today's video is about is unpacking those 4 archetypes so we can understand what they are exactly. And we're also going to look at the shadow aspects of each archetype, so how these archetypes show up when the energy is wounded or it's in its immature form. And the authors speak about how in today's current society we have a scarcity of mature masculine. We're really not seeing a lot of the healthy and mature divine masculine energy, which the world needs so much right now. We really need men to step up into their full potential, which is what this book is really about. It's really understanding masculinity, and not just from a man's point of view, but also for women to understand how we can support the men in our lives, whether that be our partners or future partners, our father, our brothers, our friends. This really illustrates how we can help and support the mature masculine to become more present in our current society. Because at the moment we have a lot of anger and rage towards the masculine, which we can see through feminist movements. I completely understand where these women are coming from, because for centuries upon centuries the feminine has been suppressed and oppressed by men. But what this book really explains, and what is often misunderstood about masculinity, is that the patriarchy, which is what a lot of women have this anger towards, this system, this institution, that is actually a product of the immature and unhealthy, wounded version of the masculine. It's not the healthy masculine, which is what the world truly needs right now. We do need more feminine energy in the world and to embrace that, but we also too need a rise in divine masculine energy. We need the healthy masculine to step up and to come forward and to lead us into better days. We really need that, and that's what we're going to be discussing in this video. And also how, if you are a man or you know someone who wants to step into their healthy divine masculine, how they can do that in a practical sense. With that said, let's get to today's video. The first archetype is the king. So what makes a man a true king? A king is a leader. He is gentle, he is kind, He is assertive. He leads with compassion and generosity. A king is calm, he is grounded, he is stable. He is emotionally stable, even more so. A true king is someone who embodies that security within himself. He is someone who is very secure with himself. And because he is so secure from within, he is so centered, he is so grounded on who he is and what he stands for. He is able to lead from that place and to infuse stability and grounding and safety in all the kingdom. And when I talk about kingdom, that could be him leading his family. That could be leading a woman in a relationship. He's able to create that safety for that woman because he is so grounded and secure within himself. A king guides and nurtures his kingdom. He's often concerned not just with himself, he is often quite selfless because he cares about leading the kingdom for all humanity's well-being, for all nature, the environment's well-being. He is a man of service to the kingdom and doing what is needed for the greater good of all and not just himself. A king is a man that can lead. He's decisive. He can make decisions. But he doesn't do this in a controlling or forceful way. Rather, he is gentle, he is calm, he is assertive, but by leading and taking the reins on situations, he creates safety for the rest of the realm. He creates order, he creates structure, and that allows the rest of the people in the kingdom to relax and to feel comfortable that they are being taken care of, that they are being protected and provided for in the safety of the king's hands. A king can also be a man who wants to leave a legacy in the world, whether that be having children or whether that's his purpose, how he wants to, impact humanity and make a difference in this world. He can also be very devoted to serving humanity and making it a better place. That is the true aspects of a king. So let's talk about what a king looks like when he's in his shadow aspect, when he's in his wounded energy. How does that show up? Well, we spoke about how a true king, a mature king, a healthy king, he wants to serve humanity. He wants to lead, but out of the generosity of his heart. He's leading with love. So the wounded king, he is leading from his ego. Rather than wanting to serve others and to help humanity and help other people, he wants to serve himself. He wants to be the king because he wants to feel powerful. He wants to feel more superior than others. I know a lot of people probably can relate to this. This energy shows up a lot with sometimes in the workplace when you have one of those bosses who just is on a power trip and they're very aggressive and very demanding and have unrealistic expectations of others to perform in a certain way. These men are usually not coming from a place where they are grounded and centered and they don't create safety or stability within the workplace. Rather, they create fear. And that is an aspect of the wounded king. I think you can see that there's a lot of wounded kings in the world that we live in today, especially those high in power. Usually this shadow way of being, it comes from a place of deep insecurity. It comes from fear of being seen as inadequate or not powerful. So rather than show people this insecurity, these men will try to squash other people's power so that they can feel more powerful. And that is not what makes a true king. Deep underneath that tough and mean exterior is just a scared little boy because he is threatened by powerful people. Another shadow aspect of the king is the complete opposite of that. It can be a very passive man, a man who has inability to act. He won't stand up for himself. Not just himself, of others. He's a man who struggles to lead. Maybe he's a man who can't even organize a date for his woman. This is wounded king masculinity because he lacks assertiveness, which is actually a really important aspect of masculinity, is to have purpose, to have drive in whatever that looks like. It can be in a relationship, it can be in a job, it could be towards even just one of your hobbies or interests. But being passive and not taking action where needed, that is often a sign of the wounded king masculine energy. So a man who wants to access his king energy, he needs to take more responsibility in whichever way that looks like. Maybe that means taking more responsibility in the relationship or in his work, or maybe taking a job which is going to challenge him and make him step up to the plate, because that is going to increase his self-worth and increase that king energy within him. Another way that you can activate the king energy is by serving others, helping other people, learning to be selfless and not selfish. How can you give back to other people? How can you lead in a way that's going to create change for humanity and for the environment and to make this world a better place? Another way that a man can access his king energy is working on his emotional and mental health. Because a man in his king energy is emotionally stable. It is very important that he is not swayed by his emotions. He comes from a very rational and grounded place, especially when he's making decisions. And another way to access the king energy is to really learn to become grounded within yourself. And the ways that we can ground is by being out in nature, meditation, just being in stillness, and learn to ground yourself and come back to your center. Tune in to yourself and what is right for you, what you believe in. So that when you show up in the world, when you're dealing with challenging and difficult situations, you can anchor into who you are at your core, because that's who you need to be in the world. That's the king energy. Even if he's faced with a really challenging situation, he comes back to his center, which is grounded, which is calm, which is self-knowing, which is secure. And he leads from that point of view. He leads from love. The next archetype is the warrior. So in this book, they've described that but what we currently have in society is soft masculine. And by that, the authors are talking about how the warrior archetype is really being suppressed right now, which is a fundamental characteristic of men and the masculine. The reason why the warrior has been suppressed by a lot of men is because a lot of men feel shame around their inner warrior, because so many women in the past have been oppressed and done wrong by the wounded warrior, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So what we really need to see in society today is more of the healthy warrior. What is the mature and healthy warrior archetype? In the book, they discuss the warrior as a man who is aggressive towards life. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean he is aggressive and violent. It means that he is living life to the fullest. He is very aware that death could be tomorrow. He's very aware that life is short, so he grips every single second and takes full advantage of it. The warrior is a man who is motivated, he is diligent, he is disciplined. So this could be a man that shows up day in and out, going to the gym to work on his body. Even though he could be in so much pain from working out every day, he continues to show up day in and day out to work on that part of himself. And that can look also by a man showing up each day working towards his career, or working on personal growth to become the best version of himself. It's that consistency, that willingness to never back down, to just keep going after what it is that he wants. Regardless of all the obstacles and challenges that come up, he is the warrior to push through all of that. And that energy exists within every single man. One way that I love that the author described the warrior is that he's always awake. He is very aware of his strengths and his weaknesses. He's very aware that life can end tomorrow. He's very aware of his body and his mind. Rather than feeling inadequate because he has these weaknesses, Instead, he knows which areas he needs to put more focus towards. He can focus his energy so that he can achieve his dreams, so he can achieve his goals and his desires, because he is aware and he is willing to work on all the things that are causing him setbacks. And he doesn't let that stop him, because he has that warrior fighting energy that can push through everything. Often a man who is consumed by his inner warrior can sometimes be a little bit emotionally distant, or he can be a man who can lack empathy. And that is because he is so focused on, no pain, no gain, pushing forward past any weakness that he is aware of, that sometimes the shadow aspect of the warrior is that he can start to resent or hate on weakness. The shadow warrior, the wounded warrior energy is often, as I mentioned, it can have a lack of empathy. It can show up as a lot of repressed emotions. And because these emotions are repressed and because they are, pushed down within a man, they can show up as cruelty. They can show up as a lack of empathy for those, particularly those who are seen by the warrior as weaker, more weaker vessels. And a great example of that is the feminine energy, right? And that is probably why women have been oppressed by men for many, many centuries, because what has been oppressing women is that wounded warrior energy, not the healthy warrior, the wounded warrior. Because the wounded warrior, he is afraid of weakness, vulnerability, right? And I'm not saying the feminine is weak in any way. Feminine energy is very powerful, but it's a different kind of power to the strength of the masculine. The feminine is powerful by being soft, by being vulnerable, by showing her weaknesses. That is the feminine. When a man is in his wounded masculine, because those energies of the feminine, the weakness, the vulnerability and the softness, because that frightens that wounded warrior so much, he wants to push it down. And that's where we see men being violent towards women. That's when we see men beating their wives, beating their children. That is not healthy masculinity. That is very wounded masculinity. When we saw the Nazis during World War II killing and murdering all of those innocent people, that was the wounded warrior. The wounded warrior stems from this hatred towards the weaker vessel. And that weaker vessel is actually within that warrior's self. It's that part of him because like I said before, all of us have masculine and feminine energy, and the wounded warrior does not want to embrace his own feminine energy. So rather than embrace and welcome his feminine energy, he sees that as weakness within himself. So the way that he tries to control that feminine energy within himself, he tries to suppress that feminine energy in the outside world by attacking those that are seen as more weaker than he. Another way that the wounded warrior masculine archetype shows up, and it's not just violence and cruelty, it's also burnout, because the warrior archetype has the capacity to just go and never taking a break, because it doesn't believe in rest. They think rest is a sign of weakness, because all of us are human beings and we all need to fill up our tank from time to time. And it's important that we all take care of ourselves. And when we fail to do that, that can lead to burnout and cause us to have health issues. So how can a man access more of his healthy warrior energy? Well, the way that he can do that is by taking action. It's not about being passive. It's about standing up for what you believe, or going after what it is that you want, whether it's the woman that you want, whether it's the career that you want, whether it's, going to the gym or running a triathlon. It doesn't really matter how it shows up, but it's taking action. Another aspect of how you can access your warrior archetype is by discipline. Being disciplined, committing yourself to something and showing up each day consistently, even if you face obstacles and challenges, because they are going to show up. That's life. But continuing to push past that and knowing that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. The third archetype that I'm going to speak about is the magician. The magician is the wise man, right? He's the one who has knowledge. He is a man who has deep insight, who is reflective, who is a master of whatever field he's in. Maybe he's a doctor, maybe he's a researcher, maybe he's a scientist, maybe he's an entrepreneur, you know, creating a new app for all of us to download and learn from. All of these ways that a man can obtain knowledge in whatever area that fascinates him and use that knowledge to help others. That is what the mature and healthy magician archetype shows up in a man. And I always like to think of the magician as Dumbledore. If you're a Harry Potter fan like me, I love Harry Potter. Dumbledore is the perfect example of the magician. He's that wise elder man who helps Harry along his journey. He encourages Harry. He's almost like a father figure to Harry and shares a lot of his knowledge with Harry. And that is what exists within every man. That ability to acquire knowledge and to share it with others to help them and to help humanity and the environment and to make this world a better place. The way that the magician shows up in the shadow aspect is by, rather than using all that information that he's acquired to help others, he can use that information to manipulate others. He can use it for himself rather than to help other people. So it can be a withholding of information. I think we see a lot of that in today's society with politics, with the media. We're not always told the full truth of what's going on, right? And why does this take place? So the magician can manipulate others so that he can gain more power by him knowing more than other people, so he can acquire more wealth or power or status or whatever it is that he wants. He uses his wealth of knowledge to help himself rather than help other people. It could also be in the dating world, a man who understands how a feminine woman operates, right? And you see these men who are, you know, the Casanovas, the charmers, right? Because they know how to speak to a woman. They know the psychology of a woman and they know how to woo a woman. But their intention is not pure. They are just trying to get the attention of as many women as possible. And that is an example of the wounded magician. He's using his power, his knowledge of women in a way to serve himself. It can also show up as a man who's too passive to want to learn more and to gain knowledge, to study. You know, maybe he's interested in a particular area, but he doesn't want to actually put in the hard work to learn and understand that area better. It might be a man who wants to delve into shares in the stock market, but he lacks that ability to actually go and study the stock market so he can then take action and start buying shares and increase his financial wealth, rather than, you know, learning this knowledge that he knows will help him and his future. He would rather just watch Netflix or go out and do his usual things rather than acquire the knowledge that it will take to better his life. Another way that the shadow magician can show up is when men are jealous of other men. This can often trigger a man who is in his wounded magician, because he feels that another man being in power, who's in, you know, who's acquired a lot of knowledge, maybe he's making a lot of money, he's doing his thing in the world, he views that man as somehow being a threat to him being in power. So that's another way that the shadow magician can show up. And how can a man acquire and access his healthy and mature magician energy? One way is by learning, studying, reading a book, taking a course. Find what it is that you are passionate about and go and learn about it. You know, there's so much information out there. I always tell people we are living in the age of information and ignorance is a choice. So if you are choosing to stay ignorant, then you are embodying your wounded magician, because you are here to learn and to better yourself and to evolve into the best person that you are here to be. And another way that a man can embody his magician energy in the healthy form is by sharing that knowledge. So once you've acquired all of that knowledge, once you become an expert or a master in that field that you're in, then go out and share it, help other people. Bring that knowledge to the world and serve humanity. Let's make this world a better place, and you can do that by acquiring information. The final archetype that I'm going to speak about is the lover. So the lover is passionate. He is a man who is fully alive in his life. He is a man who is sensual. He is a man who is sensitive. And that is a man who is sensitive to extreme highs and extreme lows. So he often can feel really happy and excited and experience a lot of pleasure in his life. But then on the other hand, he can also feel extreme pain and depression and sadness because he feels so greatly within himself. This is a man who is often quite connected to his feminine energy. And a lot of these men that are more in touch with their feminine, they tend to be creators. You know, you'll often see men like this working as musicians, as artists, writers. They're the creative types, and the way that they are creative is by tapping into their sensuality, by feeling. A lover is a man who is compassionate. He is a man who is empathetic. He feels for other people and himself, and physical touch could be very important to a man who's in his lover archetype. The shadow aspect of the lover. So one way that a man can embody his shadow or wounded lover archetype is by being so driven by chasing the extreme highs of pleasure. He might be a man who can't commit. He jumps around chasing the next high to the next high to the next high. And he lacks stability. He lacks being grounded, which we discussed in the king archetype. He's almost the opposite of that. He's always chasing something that makes him feel alive, makes him feel passionate. And this could be a man who's jumping from relationship to relationship to relationship, because he's seeking that aliveness and that passion from all these different women. But then when he gets to know them, when he becomes more comfortable with that woman, he all of a sudden gets bored or wants to move on to the next high. Because it's not that there's something wrong with the woman. It's that he, within himself, is not grounded. He is not centered. And he's chasing pleasure and fulfillment and excitement outside of himself, when all of that can really be found within ourselves. And when we come centered within ourselves, we don't need to keep jumping around from one thing to the next to try and find that pleasure. We can seek that from within. Another way that the lover, the wounded lover, shows up in men is when men form addictions. So that can be towards sex, porn, food, drugs, alcohol, whatever it looks like. And we're seeing a lot of that in society. It's because a man is so attached to his feminine energy. He's attached to that idea of feeling good, that sensation of feeling good. And that also relates to my last point about the man who's jumping ship from here to there. It's a man who's chasing the next high. He's not grounded, he's not centered. And so he's trying to just feel good using all these external things to make him feel good. When, like I said before, all of that feeling good can exist within himself when he anchors in to his center. Another way that this can show up, the wounded lover archetype, is when a man is very emotionally unstable. Chaotic emotions, like just out of control. You know, he could be very rageful and angry all the time. Or then maybe he's feeling depressed and sad. Or then maybe he's feeling really excited and happy the next day. So this kind of swing in emotions, I think a lot of women can relate to this, because our hormones are very much like that. We can fluctuate very easily. And when you see a man fluctuating very easily in his emotions, that is often an indicator that he is sitting too predominantly in his feminine energy. He is in his wounded lover archetype. The alternative to this is when a man is completely withdrawn from passion and excitement within his life. Often shows up for men as depression when they just feel completely lackluster about life. They just have no energy, they're not excited about anything, they have no purpose, no passion. They're just very underwhelmed by life. This is also another shadow aspect of the wounded lover. So if a man wants to embody more of his healthy and mature lover archetype, it's by feeling and loving more. And it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could also be by just falling in love with life, spending more time in nature, learning to appreciate, the sunrise or a sunset, going out to the ocean and listening to the sounds of the waves. It could be listening to music or going to an art gallery and learning to appreciate how much creativity was needed to produce that artwork or that music that you're listening to. Really getting in touch with that more sensitive side. A lot of men are afraid to tap into this side because they feel that, oh, that's going to make me a woman, or that's going to be feminine. But the thing is, all of these archetypes that I'm discussing, they're all present within all men. And what we need men to do is really embody all these healthy archetypes, because if we don't embody all of the healthy archetypes, what happens is we tend to suppress the archetype, and then what ends up showing up is the unhealthy, wounded shadow aspect of the archetype. So if you don't want that shadow lover to turn up into your life, you really need to embody the healthy, mature lover in your life. And that looks like appreciating art and music and love and feeling, and just having this passion for life and seeing the beauty of life all around you. And another obvious way of accessing more of that lover archetype is by being in a relationship, connecting to the divine feminine. And if you are in a healthy relationship and you are with a woman who is in connection to her divine feminine energy, you'll see that she will awaken in you that lover archetype. She will show you the beauty of life, because that is what a woman is designed to bring a man in his life. A woman can add that passion and that fire to that man's life. She can create meaning and purpose for him. She can add inspiration, that feeling of aliveness and fulfillment. That's what a woman can add to a man's life. So never underestimate the value of a relationship, and more so than just being in a relationship, finding the right person that's going to help you to evolve into the best version of yourself. It's really important that we choose people that are going to help us to become the best versions of ourselves, because we spend so much time with our partners and in our relationships. So it's really important that we choose wisely when we're choosing a partner that we want to mate with for the rest of our life. And another way that you can access your lover energy is by being creative. I find that a lot of men, they make comments that they're not creative, that they can't create, and that is just a load of nonsense, because all of us as human beings are creation energy in human form. We are all here to create, and we have been taught that creativity looks a certain way, when that is just an absolute load of nonsense. Creativity is about just the process of creation. It doesn't matter how it looks. So how about taking an art class, maybe a painting class or a drawing class, or learning a new instrument, or writing, a poem, or even just writing in your journal, like just activating that part of yourself that wants to create, because it's in you, it's in all of us. And the more you use that muscle and you start working that muscle, the more creativity you'll see in your life. And it's not just about creating artwork. You'll be able to use that creativity in your job to fuel your purpose, to come up with ways that you can make more money, that you can serve, that you can help humanity, that you can create better and healthier relationship. Maybe it's even learning to create new ways to be a better dad, a better father for your children. It's really important that as a man, you're taking different attributes of all these archetypes and you're looking at how you can, you know, embody those in your life today. So that brings me to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. It is quite a long video, but I feel that what we discussed today is just so important, and I really feel like this is knowledge that every man and woman should be aware of, because it's not just about men stepping into their power, it's also about us women understanding men better, and how can we help the masculine to truly step into its most healthy and mature form, because that is what the world truly needs right now. We need men and women to embody their divine masculine energy. And like I said, all men and women have masculine energy, and we need to start becoming awakened to the wounded masculine within ourselves. And it's not our fault. A lot of our society has been built upon wounded masculinity, but what we need to see in the future is the healthy masculine. We need to see that rise in society. This is a wake-up call for all men to start to step into your power, and it's in you, it's in every single man, it's in your consciousness. All you need to do is start embodying it and start remembering who you truly are, which is divine. You are divine. All of us are divine. We are all one with God, and we are all here to serve a purpose. We are all here not by accident, but to help humanity and to make the world a better place. So with that said, I'll leave the video here. If you have any comments or suggestions, or you want to learn more about what I've discussed today, make sure you let me know in the comments below. If you're a man watching this, let me know. I'm so curious. What archetype do you think that you most predominantly are? And where could you embody more of these healthy masculine archetypes in your life? If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. That really helps me to grow my channel and to reach more people, because I really believe that this message is so valuable. I want it to reach as many people as possible. And if you know anyone who will benefit from this video, whether that's your partner, your father, your brother, you know, you have a male friend that you want to share this to, feel free to pass this video on, because like I said, the more people that are aware of the wounded and healthy masculine archetypes, the more we can see men step into their healthy masculine, into their divine masculine, which we need so much today. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you listening to this message, and until my next video, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in my next one. Mwah.